Greetings, Internet, and welcome to episode number 257 of the Comic Watchers Show. He's Chad, I'm Matt. We like comics, and this is our show. How are you this week, Chad?
I'm hanging in there as the best as I guess most of us can these days.
Yes, I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. Well, to help us ease the pain of our increasingly dystopian existence here in the United States, we have a special guest with us this evening named Steve Urena, creator of, wait for it, Zombie Date Night and its sequel, now funding on Kickstarter, Zombie Date Night 2. Steve, how are you?
And slow pokes and curse words and
Yeah, this is my sixth Kickstarter. So Zombie Date Night 2. I'm glad to be on a Zombie Date Night with the both of you for Comic Watch. It's a nice, lovely Thursday evening. I love how we're spanning all coasts of New York and Oklahoma City and other and Connecticut. So here we are. It's a nice menage a trois of terror here.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So, Zombie Date Night 2. What can you tell us about it?
Sure. So, what makes a blind date even more awkward? Zombies, of course. So if you're going on a blind date and a zombie invasion happens, do you stay? Do you go? If the date's going well, do you continue the date to see where things go, or do you try to leave? So that's basically where Zombie Date Night comes from. In the second edition, it takes place right after the first one, and in the mall. They're trying to navigate whether they're friends or they're more than friends, and all trying to do this while a zombie invasion is happening, and they need food, so they need to go to the other side of the mall to get their food source, but all the zombies are ready for to eat them. So it's pretty much who eats first.
So are these zombies the newfangled fast-moving zombies, or are these the classic version slow walkers?
So these are, I would say they're more normal based, not fast, not slow, probably in the middle. But the spin on this one is that I call them my zombies, because at the end of Zombie Date Night 1, you find out that the zombies cannot coexist without a partner. So whatever their orientation is, they're able to find, they have to find a mate to survive.
That is so sweet.
Yeah, exactly. Even in death, it won't do you part.
So what was it about, the first issue of this series that made you, do you think, attracted, readers to, support the campaign and, hopefully coming back to support this one?
Sure. I think at the time, so the first time I did this was during the pandemic. I think it was 2021 when this came out. Still in pandemic years, I think, because we were living it. We were basically living in a zombie movie where this born illness was out in the open, and everybody was getting sick and being infected with this thing. And because it felt like the end of the world, you need somebody to be there with. So I feel like Zombie Date Night, people related to it because they were trying to find somebody to be there for the end of the world with. I'm a big horror comedy guy. And at the time, zombies were a big deal still. And, people want a good laugh. And especially you don't see a lot of horror comedies with zombies. So besides Shaun of the Dead, I guess. But yeah, Shaun of the Dead and Anna the Apocalypse. So I guess there are some more horror comedies. But I think, horror and comedies have the same type of beats, in terms of storytelling. And I think mixing the genres, people are interested to check it out.
Well, the horror comedy seems to be your niche, because you started off with slowpokes, which were killer sloths.
Yes, fast killer sloths. That's right. I'll have to send Matt a copy of Slowpokes.
I would love to read that. That's an amazing concept.
That brought me to the dance. It's very funny because people now, ever since I did the fast killer sloths, they get me sloth gifts. So now I have like sloth socks, sloth t-shirts, sloth eyes. Somebody gave me a ground sloth claw at one of these comic convention things. So it is, I love it. It's still great. But yeah, it's sloths brought me here.
So what brought you to comics as a reader and made you want to, write them, or, take
Sure.
make you want to write them?
So I've always loved the art. I mean, the art always brought me there, and just the fact that anything could happen in comics, and like, the colors and the bright costumes, and the fact that, people, the secret identities of how people really want to be, but they have to use this superhero totem to kind of be who they really want to be. And I was always drawn to that as a kid, and I loved Spider-Man, and I loved Green Lantern, and the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern, because he was an artist and he was Hispanic. I related to that. And then, I've always wanted to write comics, or I always wanted to draw comics, but I cannot draw for shit. So it is a uphill battle, because it's funny, because my mom is a fashion designer, so she could draw. She's like, oh, it's like this. And I'm like, I can't do this. It doesn't compute. So I always had in my mind that I wanted to be part of comics, but when I figured out, I'm like, all right, I can't really draw. What could I do? I always had that in the back of my mind that I wanted to be involved in it in some way. And then I found Comics Experience, which is an online school, and I took a class, and I loved it. And Slowpokes was written in the class, and since it got made in the class, I was like, you know what? I'll get it done. I'll get the art done for it. See what happens. If anything, I'll just give it out to my friends. I put it on Kickstarter. It made close to $10,000, which was crazy for something. My first try doing this.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I was like, when all was said and done with Slowpokes, it was like 10 grand that I made, and I was like, okay, well, I think I have something here. I'm going to keep taking whatever money I make from the Kickstarters and moving it into the next project. And then Zombie Date Night did well as well. It got like $6,000. So I'm like, all right, I think I might have something here. I'm going to keep moving and keep seeing where my creativity takes me. And luckily, I've been able to work with such great artists for each project. And it's just, for me, it's a creative vacation.
Tell us about the art on. Tell us about the art on Zombie Date Night 2.
Sure. So the art is done by Sergey Dominic. He did the art for Zombie Date Night, the first one and the second one. I think the second one, because it's this crazy world of zombies, is more distorted and more warped and more, crazy than last time. And I love that perspective that he put on it. But yeah, the colors pop, everything. It has a look and feel to it. And I want to do that with all my comics. Just so you know, it's like, hey, this is something different, and it is indie, but it looks professional.
So how did you, and I think we've probably talked about this when we were talking about the book before, but how did you get connected with, the artist? And
Sure. So I go through Comics Experience, which is my school that I went to. I'll write a script. I'll send it to them. Paul Allor of he's done Ninja Turtles, he's done Street Fighter, he's done Hollow Heart, which is awesome. So I work with him. He'll find me artists that need the work, or need the need to get their reps in, basically, and get paid work. And they'll send me portfolios of people. So Sergey, I saw his art, and I was like, this is perfect for Zombie Date Night. Please let me get him. And then he's doing so well now that I was able to luckily get him for the second one, even though he's got a lot of work ahead of him. So I've been very lucky to get the original team from the first one. But that's how I do my comics. Lately, I've been trying to figure out. I have artist friends, and some of them are jumping into the pool with me. So like, I have a friend, his name is Jason Thomas, and he did the Zombie Date Night Valentine's, which you could see on the Kickstarter. And we're looking at doing more comics together. We did a one-pager I'll have to send to you guys, where the premise is, it's called Pluto's Revenge, and it's Pluto getting his revenge on the other planets for kicking him out of the solar system.
First target, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about Zombie Date Night. Who are the main characters? I know.
Sure.
Is this is the one with the infinity? The shoe with the infinity shoe.
Yeah, yeah, the chancla. Yes. So in
Yes.
the first one, there's a grandma, Spanish grandma with a chancleta fighting zombies. So yes. So the Zombie Date Night tells a tale of Jack and Ginger who meet on a dating app, and they meet in real life, and they have a very awkward blind date. And while they're going on this awkward blind date, zombies interrupt and start breaking out inside the mall. So they have to work together during this blind date, pretty much to fight zombies, whether or not they stick around or go home. This is nothing. This is what you got to deal with at this time. So the second one again takes place after the events of first one, and it's they've got to know each other a little bit better, but they're still trying to figure out what they are, whether they like each other or they're more friends. And all this is happening while zombies are trying to eat their heads. So, that like real life.
So will it culminate in my big fat zombie date night wedding?
It might. It's very well could. My big fat Greek zombie wedding would be awesome. But yeah, it's basically I wanted to put like, yes, zombies are scary, but relationships can be scary too. And it's basically what does a relationship look like, or what does a courting look like during a zombie invasion?
So at this point in the story, has humanity fallen, or are we still, or is that just sort of not really something that this?
Yes, humanity has fallen. So in the first Zombie Date Night, they did go through a pandemic type event. Everybody got a vaccine, but the vaccine turned people into zombies that need a mate to survive. So that is people who got this thing it's a majority of the world. So that is what's happening.
And how do you propose you would survive in the zombie apocalypse?
I would definitely go so my parents live in the middle of nowhere, New Jersey. So that's actually what happened during the pandemic. I was like, that's probably the safest place to go because it's wide open. It's smaller. There's not a lot of people around. So I would probably go there. If not there, I would probably go somewhere high up, like a 40, like a skyscraper or something like that, which I think would actually be a cool thing. I don't know if they did that in Walking Dead, but like a skyscraper like community would be kind of cool.
Right.
And then anybody who doesn't follow the rules, they get thrown off the skyscraper.
There you go. Thin the herd a little bit.
Yes, exactly. And then somebody and then just to make a crazy villain, you have somebody who throws the penny down and see if the penny hits faster, or the guy or the guy they throw off.
So, is there a certain number of issues that you hope to tell the complete story in?
Sure. I think 4 or 5 might work, or like 3. I think 4 is a good number. But I'm just seeing where the things go, seeing what people like, what people don't like. I know with like slowpokes, I think could go on forever because it's just it's just sloth horror. You know what I mean? It's my design for slowpokes is just each issue is a different horror trope, horror genre. So like the first one was in a lab and they get created. And then the second one was at a fat camp. So it was like Heavyweights meets Friday the 13th. So just to continue to keep moving in that direction, while Zombie Date Night is more about their relationship, which I think is a little bit more grounded and a little bit more personal, rather than just like crazy deaths with sloths in it. So I think 4 is a good number for this, but we'll see how it goes. So far, people have been liking Zombie Date Night. At the cons that I've been going to, it's neck and neck between the two of those titles, between which one sells the most. The other ones have done well as well, but like those are usually the two leading ones.
So, I had a question.
No worries, man. How about what? Let's talk about you guys. What comics you're reading these days? What are you liking at the moment?
Man, I've got a plethora of stuff from Image that I'm reading right now. The Sacrificers, the Power Fantasy, Saga, of course, Savage Dragon, of course.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then
Assorted Crisis was really good.
Yes, I was about to mention that. Assorted Crisis Events was outstanding.
Awesome. Let's check it
If
out.
you haven't read that, I highly advise you to do so. It's an economical version of how to tell a story in one issue. I mean, if nothing else, it's a good teaching experience, right?
Awesome. I'd add that to my read list. That's awesome.
Yeah, Dennis Camp, and I forget the artist's name, but it just absolutely kills it. And then a funny thing happened in last fall, and that's when DC started their All In initiative. I was originally very skeptical, and then in a very short order of time, found my pull list was like majority DC books.
Wow.
Yeah, just because they have so much quality stuff coming out right now, and I'm not here to shill for DC or anything like that, but it just says a lot about the quality of their work, and the quality of creators that they've got working with them right now. And I say that specifically, working with them rather than working for them.
Yes.
There's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, if you're getting paid 25, you know what I mean? Like all those people, I saw that thing about the artists not getting paid correctly, which is awful to hear.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that good work is coming out, and hopefully they're getting paid for it.
Yeah, I hope so. Dustin Nguyen really kicked off something there with that post, and good for him for speaking up.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody should speak up because, to make something out of nothing is hard. And a lot of, people, at these publishers are like, oh, we'll just own their IP and we'll pay them and they'll be happy and then they'll be glad for it. But at the end of the day, no, we're not dealing with that. And once you take the power back, then the ball's in your court.
Absolutely.
I remember my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who's your favorite horror writer? Who influences you? And are there certain tropes that you want to maybe incorporate into your horror comedy books and maybe put your own spin on? Because I know you mentioned that Slowpokes is kind of like a take on different horror films, but
yes,
so who in the horror industry influences you, and what's your favorite trope, and which one do you want to put your spin on?
Sure.
That's like 3 questions. So,
but hey, that's one big question. That's good. Right now, I really liked Patrick Horvath's the Place Behind the Trees What Nobody Sees. That was really good. That was one of the best things I read last year. I think James Tynion is. I hope I'm pronouncing these names right.
Evidently, you are, and I and everyone else has been saying it wrong.
What is it? Is it?
No, you said it right. Tynion.
Yeah, Tynion, right? Because I know he has his company Tiny Onion, so I'm wondering is I hope that's not how you pronounce it.
I've been pronouncing it Tinion.
Tinion.
Yeah,
Tinion's good.
And I was corrected by Scott Snyder the other day when we were talking about the guy.
That's a good
Violently.
person. That's a good person to be corrected by. But yeah, those are good. The EC comics are awesome. From back in the day. Yeah. I just anybody who's doing horror in comics is you're making that leap. That's a tough thing to to tackle sometimes. But it's awesome to see that those guys are doing great. Yeah, those have been great. In terms of tropes, I would love to do my favorite horror movie is Child's Play, and I would love to do a killer doll thing at some point, but we'll see. I always thought so. If I ever did Child's Play or Chucky, I know they did the remake, and I thought that they were going to kind of do something different with the Child's Play franchise, but they didn't. They just kind of did a weird remake thing. But I always wanted to see Chucky actually possess the kid, and then the kid is the killer. And because they didn't do it, they just did. Well, the doll sells the movie, but at the end of the day, it's called Child's Play. I was like, I wonder if he actually succeeded in taking over Andy, what would have happened? They never really went through with it. So that's what I would do if I was doing a killer doll movie. But werewolves are cool, sharks are cool. I want to do vampires. I'm game for all of it. So if I can cross genres somehow, I will try to do it.
And how difficult is it to balance, writing horror and then inserting comedy? Because, for some people, horror is, can be funny, but
Yes.
is there a balance, finding a balance when you're writing?
It comes pretty easy in terms of that because horror is anything, and that's what comedy is. Comedy, you can find humor in a lot of things, and you can find horror in a lot of things. I mean, look at all the Stephen King books of like he has a killer car, he has a killer, regular murderers and all types of things. So I think in horror and comedy, it's the two can meet, and it's not jarring. And because horror it's absurd in its own way. If you think about a lot of the monsters that are made, or like, Jigsaw, this cancer patient is making all these traps and everything like that. Like that's kind of ridiculous, at the end of the day, because it's like all the traps work perfectly. It's like, what if one of them didn't? And he's like, damn it. Like, I think that's funny in its way. So I think it all kind of fits together.
So you touched on something there that the connection between comedy and horror, and I think the connective tissue there in a lot of it is timing.
Yes.
But for horror, you also have to add in timing plus atmosphere / mood, whichever
Absolutely.
you prefer, and that can be very difficult to pull off on page with static images, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
how do you as a writer approach that conundrum of how to tackle those two things?
I just think, you're right. For me, it's like, what do I want to see? If I was in a movie, or comic, it's like, where do I want it to go? That's a little bit different. That's a little bit unexpected. I mean, going back to what I was saying before about how horror and comedy are kind of linked. I mean, look at one of the scariest horror movies ever is Michael Myers, right? Like, that is absolutely scary. But if you think about it like this, what is he doing while he's waiting for his victims? Like, that's funny because it's like, what is he doing? What is he doing? Like, is he playing on his phone? Like, is he you know what I mean? Is he counting all the floorboards? Is he like, does he fall asleep? Like, you know what I mean? I feel like there's so much. It's like a game of like tennis. Like, it's like, all right, if I throw this into the void, like what comes back? And it's like, well, this could be funny or this could be ridiculous. But you also want to have those serious moments in there too, especially with Zombie Date Night. It's not all comedy. It's like, all right, well, there's also tension of romance in there as well. So I think it's all tension, and it's all just easing that tension in all different ways. And I think the story kind of writes itself, or the story kind of takes you where you're supposed to go when you're writing these scripts. But it can be hard because it's like let's see, I guess like Stephen King says, when you're writing a book, it's like when you're doing like a paleontologist, like, you're getting a little bit of the dinosaur as much as you can. And sometimes you'll get it's the whole head, or it's this, or sometimes just like a little arm, and that's fine. But it's like a faucet, like it'll drip or it'll come full circle or come full out as like a flood.
It's a drip like it's under the dome. Oh.
Yes, under the dome. Exactly. That's a good reference to make for that.
Yeah.
So let's, the Kickstarter itself, you're halfway through. What are you offering this time for people who
Sure.
want to pledge?
So for people who want to check out the Kickstarter, I launched on Valentine's Day. So of course I had to do Valentine's. I did Zombie Valentine's with artist Jason Thomas, who did a great job. And so we have Valentine that says Eat, Bay, Love. We have one like You'll Always Have My Heart, and it's like An Even Death Won't Do Us Part. So there's 3 different Valentines for you to get. All the stuff from the first Zombie Date Night is on there. There's a shirt by the very talented artist Vertebrae 33, who is killing it. He did a Zombies at the Movies shirt, which is absolutely incredible. So even if you don't want to, you don't think I'm funny, you actually have like cool merch to get if you like zombies. I got posters. If you get the highest tier, you'll get all the stuff that I mentioned, plus a Valentine that I will hand make myself for you. So I'm not an artist, so you'll get something very punny and very good, hopefully in that vein. But at the very least, you'll get all the other stuff, which is very well done artistically.
And having been in the Kickstarter community for 5 years, um, how have you seen it change? Have how have you grown in the community? Got to know other people?
Yeah, I've been very lucky that Kickstarter is still a very supportive. Kickstarter creators and comic creators are very positive and very, encouraging, and they always want to help each other, which is awesome. I love that. The only thing that's tougher this time around is I feel like social media is not so social anymore. Um, I feel like you're screaming into the void sometimes. Like Twitter is completely fucked now, which is terrible. It's absolutely awful because before I used to reach all new people from making posts or like showing my art or showing, hey, here's a con I'm doing, whatever. And now it's just like it's all bots. And listen, if the bots bought comics, great, but they're not buying comics. So they're trying to, I don't even know where they're trying to lead me. To be fair, so that's a hard part. And then there's Instagram, which is fine. I've been lucky that people that I've seen my work, I'm able to talk to them on there. But every time I post something, I have 1,500, 1,600 followers, and it's only reaching like 20. So I'm like, what is the problem? Like, what is the deal here? So the algorithm on that I think is weird. And then Blue Sky is great, but I think Blue Sky is still very new. And I think it's not the same as Twitter, where you know what a tweet is, but like, what is a Blue Sky post? What is that called? Is that a bluey, a sky? Like, I don't know what that is. So I think
A
that
cloud.
or what? It's like I feel like it's not. It's known amongst comics creators, but it's not known, I think, in the mainstream as much as it could be, and I think it's possible. And then TikTok, I'm trying on that, and I did get some people on TikTok, but at the same time, they don't let you put a link in your bio unless you have 1,000 people. So I'm like, this is a game. This is such a weird game that they have of reaching people. I even got a Substack to see if that worked, and I think some people are on that. So it's just I feel like there's so many different things, but you're not reaching as many people as it used to be. Before it was like, here's 2 platforms where you could reach thousands of people, and now it's like you'll reach 3 people here, 6 people here. And listen, I love that, and I love getting new followers every day and new backers every day, but it is definitely harder. So I'm doing cons every weekend for this next month to see if that helps things. But hopefully just to make new fans and make new people aware of my stuff.
What all cons do you have lined up for the remainder of the year?
Sure. So I just did Independent Comic Creator Con in New Haven last weekend, which was amazing. There was like 700 people there. And that was running right up against Mocha in New York. So the fact that there was that many people there was very positive and very just uplifting and good for indie comics. I'm doing the Ghoul-tastic Book Fair in Media, Pennsylvania this weekend. So it is a horror book fair. I am the only comic creator there. So I'm curious to see, hopefully my work stands out and people will be curious to come talk to me. And then next week I'm doing the T-shirt factory, Independent Comic Expo in Glen Falls, New York. So I will be there for that. And then at the end of April or the middle of April, I'll be doing Rochester Independent Comic Expo up in Rochester, New York. And then I'm going to be doing Diasporicon in New Haven, April 26th. So those are my stops on the road. So we'll see what happens.
Wow.
That reminds me I need to talk to you afterwards about July.
Yes, hopefully the dates can line up, and that'd be cool to go down there. Because I remember you tried to get me on a con before, but the date didn't line up. And that if I did that would have been my first one I ever did. So now I have a few under my belt that I'm like, okay, I can do this. I'm actually a comic creator, which is pretty cool.
So what experience have you gained from going out into the con world? And because I know you tabled with a friend at New York one year.
Yes. So Vertebrate 33, who has a great booth, he put me on, which gave me the bug. So the first Comic Con I ever did was New York Comic Con, which is crazy. It's like, oh, you can only go downhill from there. So that was such a positive experience. He was so open and and so giving of like, hey, here's my booth. I want you to do your comics here. And that was awesome. So that kind of opened the floodgates. And then I did Independent Comic Creator Con last year. And that was my first one on my own. And I was very nervous, but I did well. I sold well. And I was like, all right, I'm going to just keep doing these and see what happens. So I started local with luckily I live in the tri-state area. So I was able to go to Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. I know I did horror cons, which did very well for me, which is awesome. I think the horror community is I love the comic community, but the horror community is so open and so like, hey, we just want to see blood and guts. Like we, you know what I mean? We're they're so like, there's no, you know what I mean? The more piercings, the more tattoos, the more crazy people look, the nicer people were. Like it's awesome. I love the horror communities, but yeah, doing them is just talking to people and I feel like I'm a better, it's funny. My dad is a salesman and I didn't want to be a salesman. And now I am a salesman. I didn't want to be, and now I told him, and he's like, oh, he always wanted me to work for him and be a salesman for his company. But then he's like, oh, you're too late now. I was like, oh, I'm okay. Thank you. But I love it. It's my creative vacation. I'm glad I get to meet such like-minded people. I think I have a little bit more of an edge because I'm more extroverted. But at the same time, that could be a detriment because some of these people I'm just yelling at them by accident. You know what I mean? I'm just like, hey, buy some comics. You're like, whoa, like, you know, no eye contact, please. So it's been very positive. It's been very cool, and just learning and figuring it out. My comics are just $5, so it's just, you know, learning what works, what doesn't work, and just having fun. If you're having fun, other people have fun too. It
is infectious like that.
Yeah, like, absolutely. You get to go to a place, a new place sometimes, and tell people what you did, and like the, you know, Fast Killer Sloth is the perfect icebreaker. If people don't laugh, then that's not my audience. But if people do, then good to go.
So will we be seeing any more of the Killer Santa Claus?
Killer Santa Claus, not just yet, but I have a new project coming after Zombie Date Night, which I'm trying to, once I get the money for Zombie Date Night 2, if I make it, I will put it into this project. And then I think I'm going to do something after this, something new, something familiar, something new, and just keep that cycle of like, you know, here's something, you know, different every time. But it's definitely harder. Kickstarters are definitely harder. So I got to figure out if that's still my platform or if I need to figure out another way to do it. But so far, you know, I love doing this and just making stuff, making new things.
So kind of the same idea with curse words too.
Yeah, curse words. So yes, Matt, if you didn't know, I did a comic called Foul Mouth. It's about a demon possessed superhero gets her powers from cursing.
I love that.
I think Matt, I have to send you all my comics, which are right now they're all free on Global Comics. So you know, for anybody watching and don't know anything about me, go check it out. And then if you like that, maybe you'll like Zombie Date Night.
A glowing endorsement. Free comics, and then go help him make some more comics.
That's right. And Global Comics has been crazy too because I put my comics on there for free digitally, and Zombie Date Night is up to like 5,000 views or something like that, 5,000 reads. So I'm like, where are those people? Come back wherever you are.
No doubt. So,
good. Okay.
Okay, cantaloupe.
I was just going to
say,
go eat
cantaloupe, right?
Cantaloupe. It's delicious and nutritious.
It is.
But I was going to say, you know, you got your previous works available digitally.
Yes.
Do you perceive any drawbacks or the opposite if of digital versus press?
No, I mean, I've been doing the thing where the press is, I mean, listen, if anybody wants physical copies, just reach out to me on Instagram and we can, you know, my physical copies are $5 plus shipping. Or if you want me to sign it, I'll whatever. But in terms of digital, it's a good gateway to get people to know who I am because, and also with comic people that read comics, yes, they'll read the digital, but they want something to hold in their hands and they'll still buy, you know, a physical copy, or they'll support a Kickstarter or they'll buy a shirt or whatever that needs to be done. So I think it's helped a lot. But yeah, physical copies at the cons have been great because it's people like to have something in their hand, and it's just been those are two different audiences. So so far from what I'm seeing is not like, oh, I need to get it for free. Here it's like, all right, I read this, I liked it, I want it for my comic collection. So yeah.
So having, 6 books under your belt now,
Yeah, crazy.
what lessons have you learned, and what lessons would you tell, um, just beginning Steve that he should, focus on or would help him?
I would tell the first Kickstarter, Steve, to do your research on how much shipping is, because I didn't know at the time, and I was like, shipping's got to be like what, $1, $2, and it was not. So luckily, I made enough money to offset that, and I was fine. But yeah, I definitely do your research. To go to Pirate Ship is your friend. That's been the best shipping service that I've been able to use, because it was the first time around I packed all that stuff. And I went to the post office and drove all those people crazy with hundreds of Gemini mailers that they had to scan in. But in terms of writing, definitely write for yourself. You know what I mean? If your vibe will attract your tribe. I always like that phrase. So if you're entertained by it, somebody will be entertained by it, or somebody will like it. Because if you write listen, I love people that read my stuff, but if you write for other people instead of yourself, it won't come off right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you believe in it, my thing is, if it's something that makes my parents embarrassed to talk about it with their friends, it's probably a good thing to write about, because they've had to tell their friends about fast killer sloths and Chancleta fighting, Chancleta grandmas fighting zombies and cursing superheroes. So I think that's a good way to go about it. But yeah, follow your muse. At the end of the day, life takes you where you're supposed to be. So just, if something excites you, follow that, see what happens. And the most daunting thing is, oh, well, people like it or people will not like it. As long as you like it, you're good. And as long as you believe in it, I think that's a success. Taking something from nothing and turning it into something, that's success to me. I've been lucky that I've been able to take some of this money and move it towards other projects, but it's a creative vacation. I get to write completely unhinged and and it's kind of on me, which is awesome. I like being part of that. So it's been awesome. And I hope if anybody needs advice on writing or, getting yourself out there, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So how do
the
you
best advice you've ever gotten?
Oh. Sorry. How do you feel you've grown as a writer in the time since you began this journey?
I feel like inside hasn't grown. I don't know how to explain that. Let's see. Like, I feel like I'm still a big child. You know what I mean? I'm still doing things to make myself laugh, but at the same time, I feel like I'm getting better with every project, and I feel like I'm getting better at the writing and getting better at, like, okay, don't do this from what did I learn from the last one and move it into the next project. Mm-hmm. I'm always trying new things and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work, but I think you'll eventually find your audience if you believe in it. But yeah, I've learned a lot, and just, you learn by doing, and you learn by failing. You know what I mean? You learn by, okay, this didn't work this time, or if you're not afraid of failure, you're going to succeed.
And what have you learned about working with, the artist and making sure that, you both are on the same page, but both of your visions for the project,
So
are
for me,
realized?
with the artists, I just want to make sure that they have fun while they're doing it. I trust all the artists that I work with. They're professionals. They know what they're doing. You know what I mean? As long as, I have a script and here's what the script is, but I'm not like tied into it, where it's like, you want to change something, or if something needs to pop more, or you want to put your spin on it, be my guest, because at the end of the day, I picked you and I trust you and I trust your judgment. So that's what I always do. And so far it's worked. All the stuff that I've done, it's like, here's a script, but I trust you. Go crazy, have fun. Because if you're having fun, other people are gonna have fun too.
And how do you respond to, feedback, good or bad, that you've gotten from your readers? Do you I assume that's something you try to, you know, carry into the next project with you?
Yeah, yes and no, because like I said, you got to write for yourself, and if I think it's right for what I would want to see, hopefully other people will. Some people disagree, and that's fine. I think for me, it's and I've expected more bad reviews than good reviews, which is because I'm like killer sloths. Like I don't know if people are gonna be on board with this, but so far it's been pretty positive. Um, I've gotten one bad review so far that I've seen. I mean, I'm sure there's more, but at the end of the day, listen, as long as people respond positively or negatively, as long as they respond, I'm happy with it because that means I did something. Because if people don't react at all, that means I didn't do anything.
And
Go ahead, Chad.
I was going to say, which writers do you kind of see as an influence on your writing, whether it be the style or your writing for the panel or anything like that?
I mean, I loved Garth Ennis growing up. He was awesome. Ron Mars, the Kyle Rayner run of Green Lantern is hands down one of my favorite just runs of a character. And the fact that they kind of just pushed Kyle Rayner to the side of Green Lantern is kind of just like this guy was so big during the 90s and the early 2000s, and then he just disappeared, or like he's just kind of like a side character now. So that is that kind of troubling. James, like I said, James Tynion is awesome. I really loved, there was a comic Sex Criminals that was really good. I try to read all the time, try to go out my comfort zone because you never know how comfortable you are until you're uncomfortable. So I always want to try new things and read like, okay, this is a different take on this. So I have if people like Goodreads, they can follow me on there. The Steve Urena. My goal last year was 50 books. I read 53. This year I'm going to continue going. Stephen King's been great. Rick Rubin, very positive. His book about creativity is very, very good. I definitely recommend that. I just read How Music Works by David Byrne from the Talking Heads.
Really?
Yeah, and that book is really well done because listen, if even if you're not a musician, you could appreciate people's creativity and like why people do things and like finding your outlet and making sure that the outlet works for what project you're doing. Cause like certain things, like my stuff could work as a movie, but I think as a comic, it works very well because it's like, oh man, this can go even crazier in the comic than in a movie. So that was the last thing I read that was really good. Right now I'm reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is a fantasy book about a woman who makes a deal with the devil, basically, and it twists her words and she becomes forgotten. So anytime she walks into a room, the people that she meets forget her, and then she meets somebody who doesn't forget her. So it's trying to figure out like why this is happening. So that's really good. I love it. I love a good story. So it doesn't matter where it's coming from. I also recommend if you're reading about writing, let me see if I can get the name of it. Writing by, I think his name is David McKee. Let's see. Story, sorry, by Robert McKee, not David McKee. And he does a series about writing and how important like that. Everybody likes a story. Like stories are universal, and it's just how to craft a story and how to make everything like make sure your settings are contained. So if you're interested in writing, definitely Story by Robert McKee. That series has been very good.
So what's your favorite, I know, Stephen King book? Because I like you, I'm, big into Stephen King, and I really love his short stories. And I know that you
Yes, the short
recently finished
stories. The recent one was really well done.
Some Like It Dark.
Yeah, Some Like It Dark. I just read that. That was really good. And then I read Holly, which I thought was good, which was more recent. I love his book about writing. I think that's really good. Obviously, you can't go wrong with like It, Pet Cemetery. Christine and like Carrie, of course. He's done it all. Look at that guy.
Oh, I love his I love his short stories. I mean, I can listen to Nightmares and Dreamscapes, repeatedly, and I'm working on my second go through of the Dark Tower series, and then I want to read all the one. Well, practically most of his books tie in somehow. So
Yeah.
I just finished
Well,
Hearts of Atlantis.
it's also
Hearts of
crazy
Atlantis.
too, because it's like you would think if all these things are happening in Derry, Maine, that they would have called the National Guard by now. It's like, oh shit, there's a killer clown. What the fuck? Like, oh my god.
Yes,
It's just like living in the Northeast. You
Yeah, it's just
somebody,
normal. It's just normal behavior.
somebody,
Yeah,
you know, killed somebody in group or something.
Yeah.
So, do you have any visions for any long format series? Like you said, Garth Ennis, so just akin to Preacher or Hitman or something like that? Or are you kind of happy doing shorter works right now?
I mean, I would love to do longer things. I think it's just finding an artist that I trust for something longer, that can make the work. You know what I mean? I think that has to be with somebody that I'm close to, because it'll be a longer thing. I'm a big fan of Stray Bullets. So I would love to do my own version of Stray Bullets, which is such a great comic. I mean, that's about crime, but just that follows such a good narrative of like, here's this world, here's these little vignettes about this world and like these crimes and these criminals, and then it creates a bigger tapestry of like, hey, this is a bigger world that you're living in. I would love to do something like that. But yeah, I'm open to anything. I tried. I've done 1-pagers, I've done 5-pagers, I've done 24 pages, I've done 32 pages. So I guess a 64 would have to be good at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, just little by little, just trying to see what works and what doesn't work. Definitely the 2024 is a sweet spot, because I can at least make those quickly. But it still takes time. Comics art takes 6 months to 8 months, 9 months. So it's just figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Do you look back and feel like, and you some of your stuff maybe hasn't worked in hindsight?
So far, I think everything has worked. I mean, the first Slowpokes, it sold over 400 copies, which for me, I think that's good.
Oh, that's awesome.
The other ones have sold hundreds of copies as well. Like the Zombie Date Night at over 400. I think Foulmouth, I did a smaller run of that, but that's like at 300. So I'm happy with it. As long as one person reads it, and even if it's just my mom, I'm okay with that. And because it's not a slow and steady wins the race. Like I like it as a word of mouth thing where it's like, oh, hey, have you read this? Like, and I like to have be the only the person that has these, or getting it in comic shops that are like a little bit more like word of mouth type things. I think that's cooler than being, it's like, oh, I made, I'm in 1,000 places, but like nobody sees it. Like, I don't want that. I want people to read it and enjoy it and have fun with it and tell their friend about it.
Right on.
So, do you have like a routine? I know you have a job, a real job, but do you have like a routine for writing, or is it kind of
Sure.
when inspiration hits you, or do you kind of say, sit down at a specific time and say, all right, I'm going to write now?
So for me, I like I said, my thing is follow your muse. So if I have an idea that I'm excited about, I'll get fixated on that idea until the work is done. I'll have my girlfriend or my fiance now give me deadlines basically. So I'm like, all right, I want to finish this comic. She's like, okay, give me the first 10 pages by this date, and then we'll go over it, and then give me the second round. Keep the deadlines. So yeah, I'm always working on stuff. I have my notepad on my phone that I'm always tinkering around with. Like I said, like, before, like Stephen King with the water, it's like, sometimes it's a slow drip, and sometimes it's like, oh, here comes an ocean of ideas. And it all just comes out. So it's, just always continuously creating and trying to make new things and make sure that it's the best they could possibly be. I will not put out a comic unless I am completely like, all right, I'm all in on this. This is great. Like I'm done.
Right on.
And how is it having your fiance be your editor?
She's great for somebody that is not an editor in her real job. She's a school teacher. She's great. Nobody's complained about that, which is good, which is good. Nobody's like, oh, this is spelled wrong or anything. Luckily, I'm a good writer too, but I think that helps for writers out there listening to this. If you are, find somebody that you trust, that you want to share your stories with, because they'll pick it apart because they love you so much. You know what I mean? They'll be like, all right, this happened, but why is this happening if this can't happen? And I think that's what makes a good editor. And she's a great editor.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how many days remain on the current campaign for Zombie Date Night 2?
I think we're at this moment 26 days left, which is not
25
bad.
or so.
I think for I do the longer campaigns because for me, I just want to make sure that I reach as many people as I can, and because I have a real job and things like that, make sure I set the time aside to do interviews and talk to people and do cons and things like that. But yeah, 25 days to go. We are 61% funded, which is not bad. I think. I'm hoping more and more people come in, but please check it out. Every little bit helps. The lowest tier is $3, and like I said, it's cheaper than eggs. So if you're
What isn't?
Yeah, what is it? So, but yes, buy my comics. They're cheaper than eggs.
So
You have my pledge.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate you.
Do you have any ideas for your next Kickstarter that you're percolating?
Yes. So yes, like I said, I'm working on a werewolf type thing. I have an idea for it. Once I get the money for this, the script is done. I'll have to find an artist, and hopefully it'll be out by next spring or earlier. We'll see. But yeah, I'm working on that. I worked on. There will be a Slowpokes 3. I'm working on that. That the script is almost done for that, and then I have another story that I have outlined that's in the works. But once the other two are with the artists, I'll start working on that.
Awesome. I love it. I love the creative spirit at play here.
Yeah, because for me, I just feel like you're dead a lot longer than you're alive, so you might as well make the stuff that you want to make.
And more than fair.
Yes. So follow your muse, go out there and do it. If you're doing something, you're already halfway. You're already ahead of the game, because look at all the people that had ideas that didn't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Chad?
Well, I was going to say, if you wanted to give one final pitch for the book, and where people can restate again where people can find him on social media, then.
Sure. So if you want to hear me scream into the void, you can follow me on any social channel at the Steve Urena, TAGSTEVEURENA. And then for Zombie Date Night 2, join us for that second date. You want to get these Valentines, you want to get these crazy shirts, great art, comedy, horror, something for everybody. So please check us out. Every bit helps, even if it's just $3, if it's just $1, I'll take it. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody. And if there's anything you want to see from me from Zombie Date Night 2, let me know. I will figure it out. Awesome.
Well, Steve Urena, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I get to come on again. This has been a lot of fun, and you guys ask great questions.
Oh well, thank you. We appreciate that. We try.
and we'll continue to follow and track your campaign over on our weekly crowdfunder corner, which goes up every Saturday at noon.
And remember, whoever's listening to this, you could do it too. If this schmuck over here can write about fast killer sloths, you can get your project done.
There you go. Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it. Well, Steve, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
The book is Zombie Date Night 2, and it is funding now on Kickstarter. Get over there and fund it, because it is an awesome comic.
That's
awesome
right.
Concept and awesome creators involved. So you're a lot worse with your life than supporting local art.
It's cheaper than eggs.
It's cheaper than eggs. Yes. All right. Well, until next time, Chad, who do we have next week?
I'm not going to tell you, but I'll give you initials. PKJ.
Ooh, how intriguing is that? All right. KJ, we will be back. So, man, at 7:30 Central, 8:30 on the East Coast. And we will be here to entertain you some more with our wacky review adventures. Till next time, we're the Comic Watchers, and this is our show. Thank you very much.